This is Tiger Cats postgame on the Ticats Audio Network.
Sold out crowd at Tim Hortons Field. In fact, a record attendance, 25,318 in the house today. Even a record 50-50 at 77,385. End of the day after 60 minutes of football, the Toronto Argonauts, and maybe not in the most sportsmanlike way, I got to throw that in as well, too, defeat the Tiger Cats 41-28. Andy, tough one again, and I think Luke alluded to it there on his closing comments. Some moments to really be proud of with the Tiger Cats, and then some moments where I'm not going to say that they were sleeping but at the wheel, but the Argonauts just got the better of them.
Yeah, they went up against a real tough Argonauts team today, and they show why they're the class of the league right now. They just were a little bit better in almost all aspects of the game tonight, and it showed on the final scoreboard. 41-28 was the final, and they just made plays when they needed to make plays. They finished drives in the end zone. They were able to get to the quarterback consistently with pressure, and which they ended up with 5 sacks versus 0 for the Ticats, so that was a big difference there. But they just were a little bit better on all aspects: the kicking game, the return game, the defensive pressure, the rushing game. Every little bit adds up to a lot on the scoreboard in a gritty game like this. And you mentioned the way the game ended. You call it unsportsmanlike. You could feel the tension in this game, and when A.J. Ouellette threw that pass in the fourth quarter to put them up and not look back, you could see that they were looking to kind of snuff out the Ticats once and for all this season and kind of squash any sign of hope that they had. Now, there is still lots of hope. There's lots of season left.
Sure.
I'm not even saying that, but as far as saying who's going to end up on top of the standings this year in the regular season, it's going to be tough to overcome that mountain now against the Argos.
You're right there, and I thought the fact that they brought out the anvil and had that celebration, that was kind of the Argonauts. And hey, I guess when you're 9-1, you can kind of do what you want. That was sort of their stamp of dominance, I guess. That was to the Tiger Cats here in front of the Tiger Cats fans. So good on them. If that's the way they want to celebrate, good on them. But again, Tiger Cats got lots of work to do, and not a lot of time to really kind of melt or feel bad for themselves about this one. They got a game on Friday, which I think is just incredible. In fact, of player safety and stuff like that, but that's another story. But here on Tiger Cats postgame, RJ and Luke will come back and join us here. We'll go roundtable style. We will talk to a player of the game and announce our player of the game, and talk to Coach O as well too. We'll get Andy to review his car start keys to the victory, and now let's talk about our catch of the game. And it is time for the catch of the game, presented by Fisherman's Friend. Fisherman's Friend, it works. That's the honest truth. Situation was this. Third quarter, 10:15 left, second down and 10. Tyler Powell knocking on the door.
Confidence they have in James Butler. Third and short, and they don't line up for the classic quarterback short yardage play. They just give him the ball out of a handoff from the shotgun, and huge gain, first down on the 20.
Red zone for the Tiger Cats. First time they've been there in this game. Down 17-4. First possession of the second half. Trying to cut into the Argos lead in the Labor Day Classic. Taylor Powell back to pass. Waiting. Nobody open. Now he's scrambling to his left. Throws on the run. Had James Butler on this near sideline. Makes the catch. And it'll be a gain of a couple of yards.
Yeah, fine. Taylor Powell forced out of the pocket just before probably, almost felt like he was about to throw it away, and he finds James Butler for a 3.5 yard gain, and that's doesn't sound like a lot. Still second down, but second and 6.5 is easier than second and 10, and they're just chipping away at it.
Tiger Cats have talked about it all season. They need to turn these into touchdowns when they're in the red zone. 4 receivers off to the right for Taylor Powell. He drops back to pass, looking straight ahead, under pressure, throws down the middle. It's a touchdown. It's caught The Tiger Cats get their first touchdown of the game. It's Terry Godwin with his first CFL touchdown of his career.
What a beautiful catch. Unbelievable job at the top of the route by Terry Godwin. Gets plenty of separation there from the Argonaut secondary. And Taylor Powell, beautiful throw right to the back middle of the end zone. Takes the contact at the catch as well. Man, this Ticats from the end of that first quarter, if you could have just drawn a line in the sand and called it 0-0 again, this Ticats team is actually piecing together a really, really decent football game. Still work to be done, though. They're going to go for 2 here.
Ticats touchdown presented by...
Well, a great way to cap off a 5-minute and 15-second drive to start the second half. And, good for Godwin to finally get into the end zone after it seemed seemingly tons of opportunity there.
Yeah, Terry ended up having a pretty solid game. He ended up with 2 touchdowns this game, and that being his first CFL touchdown. And he was targeted a lot this game. He had 7 targets in the first half alone. Only came up with 3 of those, but ended up with 6 catches for 50 yards and 2 touchdowns, and one of them was kind of late in meaning, didn't really help in the kind of the garbage time, but still he's an important piece of this offense. And between him and Tim White, they need to continue to get these guys making those explosive plays and those big catches. I thought the offense in general, started doing some things at the end of the game when it was sort of when you knew the urgency was there, that they just didn't really have in the first half. Even that drive you just spoke of, I like the way they're mixing things up and kind of you feel that urgency getting the ball downfield. You didn't really feel that in the first half, and it shows by not coming up with any touchdowns. And really, you dig yourself a hole of 17-0. And you end up losing by 13 points. I mean, it's, Luke mentioned that line in the sand. If you did draw that line in the sand at the first quarter, they win the ball game. I mean, of course, things would the dominoes would fall a little bit differently, but lots of positive aspects to this game on all the phases for the Ticats. Just couldn't kind of piece it together continuously and consistently, where the Argos are a tough team that they can afford to make a few mistakes and recover from them. The Ticats, they seem to take a step forward and take a step or 2 back. So that's one thing that they got to figure out a way to kind of correct as we move on from this game.
Let's name our performer of the game as presented by Hercules Tire, right on our strength. And how about Tim White had a heck of a game there?
Yeah, we're gonna give it to Tim White. He dropped a pass early on a great throw that it probably surprised him because the timing was so good. Haven't seen Taylor Powell anticipate a throw like that, yet this season really. But he ended up, that was the only target he didn't catch, which is a stat that I love to hear. When you get thrown to, you catch the ball, and he ended up with 8 catches out of 9 targets, 110 yards, and a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. So he had a great game after that early miss, and it's nice to see him. He had a great second half in BC, and to continue that tonight. And we're going to need Tim White to be the Tim White we know of from last year as for the rest of the season, for this team to make a run for the playoffs here.
Let's review your CarStar keys to victory.
Well, number 1 was the 50-50 ball, and there weren't a ton of opportunities to really grade this key to victory, but I have to give it to the Argos because the Ticats came up with those 2 big interceptions and could have probably had another 1 or 2. So that was a positive for the Cats, but the Argos, I didn't really think the Cats had any catches that that they were able to, make 50-50 on a 50-50 play, where the Argos did have a couple clutch catches like that could have went either way. So I'm going to have to give it to them on that one.
Let's take a quick pause on the CarStar Keys to Victory. We have exclusive access to the coaching room. Time to check in with Coach Orlando Steinauer, as presented by Access Storage. Score a touchdown with affordable storage. Access Storage has flexible storage solutions at a store near you. Try 4 weeks free. Details at accessstorage.ca. Coach O on the line with us here. Coach, 25,318 record attendance at Tim Hortons Field cheering you on there. And you guys had your moments, but it just seemed like the Argos had an answer for everything you guys kind of did today.
Yeah, first of all, the fans were pre-game warm-up all the way through until it was out of reach there. Yeah, we didn't take advantage of our opportunities in key situations. There were times we did and times we didn't, and we just need to take better advantage of that, be it opportunities to score, staying on the field, or getting off the field, or executing on special teams.
Coach, after a few long weeks since the bye week, coming now into an extremely short week, what is going to be your approach this week to head to Ottawa?
Yeah, I got to flush this one. There is time to reflect, and there'll be a little bit of time for correction, but at the end of the day, it's about taking care of your body, getting your mind right, and ultimately getting ready. Like, we'll be on the plane before we know it here.
Coach, is it encouraging to you that we are seeing, and it's not like we didn't see it in BC either, we're continually seeing a little bit more from Taylor Powell as he gets used to it? I think people have to remember that this is a limited start situation for him.
Yeah, and like I said before, the one thing that we can't do for Taylor is give him experience. You have to go through those times, and he did some great things out there. We got to obviously work on the ball security a little bit, but thought he made some great decisions, gave us an opportunity. We just didn't put together complementary where we scored and then we're able to get off the field. Kind of gave them some field position there, and then punt the ball extremely well for whatever reason.
Coach O, again, you got lots to do in the next couple of days. Tight turnaround. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to talking to you with, a big game in Ottawa coming up to add to that win total in the
Absolutely.
standings. All right.
Yeah, appreciate you guys as always. Thank you.
Take care. Coach Orlando Steiner just kind of laying it out, guys, as we bring in RJ and Luke from the broadcast booth, that said pretty much kind of what you're talking about, Luke, on your closing comments there, and the fact that, moments of being there, but just not enough there to respond to a good team like the Toronto Argonauts.
Yeah, and, you almost wonder what a fifth quarter would have looked like between these two teams. I said in the broadcast, I just can't get it off my mind that the first 17 points of the game happened so quickly and so easily for the Argonauts as a result of great field position, of an inability to punt the ball effectively from the Ticats. And from there, you saw the second and third quarter, a Ticats team that kind of continued some of the positive trends from BC. They were able to string together first downs, converted some difficult second downs. Taylor Powell ended up passing for a few touchdowns tonight, which is a real encouraging thing, an offense that's been struggling to get into the end zone, especially through the air. And then it was really, Chad Kelly and his offense had two really just true quality football drives there that sort of sealed the deal. But before those, you saw a defense that I would say was really kind of winning their battle on the field. I thought the Hamilton defense played better than the Toronto offense for a large part of the game.
Let's go right back down to the locker room and connect with Tim White. He is our performer of the game as presented by Hercules Tire, right on our strength. And we will get down to the locker room and connect with Tim White. This exclusive post-game interview is presented by Access Storage. Score a touchdown with affordable storage. Access Storage has flexible storage solutions at a store near you. Try 4 weeks free. Details at accessstorage.ca. Tim, congratulations. Big crowd on hand. In fact, record attendance at 25,318 ready to cheer you on. You guys had your moments there. What was just a little bit that was missing today in today's contest against the Argonauts?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just getting the early start. I feel like we started off slow, and I think that had the bigger indication on the game.
Hey, Tim, you had an early one, kind of seemed like it surprised you a bit that right as soon as you came out of your break. But after that, caught every ball thrown your way, 2 touchdowns, 2-point conversion. How does it feel to be more involved in the offense in the last 6 quarters?
Yeah, no, it feels good. You know, I just want to impact the game, you know, and every time I get a target, I want to do something with the ball. So just really kind of focus on elevating my game, you know, to help us win.
Hey, Tim, it's Luke Tasker. I thought you had one of the best games I've seen from you in your career in the Ticats, and congratulations on that. But I know that the loss sort of lessens the meaningfulness of having a great game. To me, it looked like your involvement on second down, your ability to make some really difficult catches tonight was a big difference in your team's offense. Can you speak to sort of adding that to your game, that ability to make the difficult catch?
Yeah, it's number one, Luke. Big respect to you. You know, I respect your game, and I watch film on you. And no, definitely just adding everything. You know, trying to be that go-to guy, trying to be that guy that can come up with big plays when the team needs it. And then the next step for me, I would say, is just with the ball in my hands, really creating plays so to make it easier on everybody else.
Tim, it's RJ here. The Argos have won 3 times, and I know there's a lot of hype going into the Labor Day game. How are you feeling about this game, and how's the team feeling? How does this sit with the Tiger Cats?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I feel like it's a letdown. You know, seeing the crowd up there, you know, and just knowing that we had the game, we had an opportunity to win, and just not coming up with it. I think it hurts me personally. But, you know, we have a next game coming up, and that's in a short amount of time, so we're looking forward to that.
Tim, you started off mentioning the slow start, and that seems to be a problem for you guys all year long. How do you create more of a sense of urgency right from the opening kickoff moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what we did last week, you know, we had a nice start, and we drove the ball down the field and everything like that. I just think it's more so like carrying it through and just keeping it consistent each week. And the more we get cohesion with each group and the guys that are on the field, we're going to play better, and we're going to start off faster.
You know, Tim, again, a little bit about your young quarterback, seemingly coming on, just gaining confidence a little bit week by week.
Yes.
Would you think so?
Yeah, definitely. He's growing. Every time I take a look at Taylor, I feel like he's growing. You know, he's like 6'4" right now. You know, we just got to convert it into wins. You know, I think that's the biggest thing. Taking care of the ball has been, you know, a good thing. Obviously, we had a few turnovers today, but really just seeing his growth. I mean, I think that's important, and he's looking to take the next step.
Well, it's one of those situations in the CFL with the tight turnaround, so hey, take care of your body. We look forward to a big game from you once again in the nation's capital. Congratulations on a great game today.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Take care. Well, Tim White with a tough one there. And again, it's got to be so tough for some of these guys that put together a good numbers. And, you know, you look at your stats, and I know it's not all about stats, but you had a good game, but you're not getting that end result. That what you really want, and that's the W there, RJ.
Yeah, they have to find a way to get wins. It seems like everything went well against BC. The start of the games is turning into a factor. I remember last year we talked about fourth quarters all the time. This is the 4th straight game where the Tiger Cats have not scored a point in the first quarter. 7th time this year. So what is it? Why are they not getting off to these good starts? It's fine against a team like BC because they didn't score either. So if you're not going to score, the other team doesn't score, that's fine. And that stat is a little bit jaded because they did, at the end of the first quarter, they were in scoring position. That winds up being a second quarter statistic. But better starts are mandatory. You dig a 17-0 hole against the best team in the league, it's going to be tough to get the result you want.
I think you need to emphasize it. You mentioned I think there's twice this season that they scored on the first or second play of the second quarter. So a little bit skewed, but still, you got to emphasize that first quarter scoring, because 19 points in 11 games is not going to win you a lot of football games. And especially when you're a team that's trying to control the flow of the game, commit to the run. You got a young quarterback. You don't want to put it all on his shoulders. You don't want to fall behind that early in the game. So you got to figure out a way to script up some a sweet drive and just a methodical way to get down the field and put it in the end zone early.
Yeah, Andy, I was going to say the same thing. We've talked on our post game before and in our weekly content and everything that, every team, most coordinators are going to have a certain amount of plays scripted. Maybe that's an answer. Maybe you start working with and you let Taylor Powell know the night before, the days before leading up, the plays that are going to get called first, and sort of take the anticipation out of it and let it be more of a calculated, predictable thing for your offense early on. Today, though, the answer to me in that first quarter is actually going to come down to the special teams play. You just can't have, in the first 4 punts of the game, there was an average net punt of something like 14 yards over 4 punts.
You're going to lose the field position battle.
You're going to lose the field possession battle. It's nearly as damaging as a turnover. It's really not an easy recipe to overcome with your offense and defense. So you've got to fix that problem firstly. I think we saw some strange things, some strange kicks, strange punts, I should say, from Vedvik, even with the wind behind them, which is unusual. Mm-hmm. Granted, you have a really strong return game from the Argonauts, so there's probably some of that looking to avoid a good return. But you got to be able to flip the field a little bit more. You need more production from that punt team. And right now, today you're playing an Argonaut team who can overcome some mistakes. They can have bad drives and still come back to win games. They can even be at a deficit and climb back at it. And you're not a Ticat team yet that can really do that. Like you saw in BC, they took the lead and held on to it and maintained it and played well in 3 phases. You kind of, unfortunately, are in a situation right now where you need 3 phases winning their jobs.
It's funny that you talked about the special teams and the field position, and well, I'd like to finish off the Carstar Keys to Victory, and we already talked about the Ticats not winning 50-50 balls, but Andy, to Luke's point there about the special teams matchup, and what an issue that has been. Yeah,
that was my key to victory number 2, and this one is another loss for the Cats. And I think it's even, I was focused on 2 big stats. One was kicking percentage when trying to score, like field goals and extra points. Hamilton missed 1 field goal, and Toronto didn't miss any kicks. So it wasn't that skewed. It was a 57-yarder that they did miss, and they ended up with a single there. But and then the punt return average is what the punt and the kickoff return average is what I was looking at. And for punt returns, Toronto averaged almost 5 more yards per return. And on the kick return average, it was pretty close. Hamilton did have the slight edge in that. But I think the other aspects of the special teams matchup actually played more of a factor. You mentioned that the total punt average was 42.5 for the Argos and just over 40 for Hamilton. The kickoff average, Toronto's kicking the ball over 11 yards further on kickoffs every time.
Ticats punter is kicking off.
Yeah, so right. You're losing yards in every way at every time. And we talked before the game with Coach Sal about how the Argos have had better starting field position in every single of their 9 games up to this one. Well, now it's 10 out of 10, and there's no reason they're 9-1. Or no surprise they're 9-1, I should say. You and I, Bubba, were talking at halftime about the starting drive position in the first half, and you said it, Luke. That was the difference in it. It wasn't. The stats were fairly equal. Other than the sacks, they were pretty much equal across the board, and the Argos just had better field position and were able to make a few plays to 4 touchdowns when they needed them.
Here, just for the first half alone here, and I charted this here, Toronto starting from their own 48, 32, 47, Hamilton 31, from the 55, Toronto 39, and from the Toronto 50. You're in business if you're on offense and you're getting those drive starts.
1 or 2 first downs and you're scoring already. Yeah. Whereas you look at the Hamilton drive chart in that first half, it's you're looking at Hamilton 40, Hamilton 36, Hamilton 20, Hamilton 41, Hamilton 13, Hamilton 15, Hamilton 40. So nothing past the 41. And so you got a long, tough
on a
sled
team
ahead of
that's
you.
struggling to push the ball downfield.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, big difference there. And then my car star key to big victory number 3 was win the turnover battle. It ended up with a tie in that one. It was 2-2. So no blood there. Came down to really the other issues.
Let's go here, guys. I mean, and the coach talked about it, the fact that basically this game has to get wiped as of the end of today. Both of you guys played this game at the high level in a long time. You got to play on Friday. A professional football. How do you do this?
Well, you hydrate for one, because that was a long, sunny day on the field, and truly, I mean, Coach O mentioned it. I think in the Coach O show with me this past week that football, it's kind of like you get in a car accident each week. Like, you don't just heal by tomorrow morning. You're not going out to play a next soccer match or something like that. You just got in a car accident, and you did it in 40 degrees Celsius all day. So you got to hydrate. And practice is going to be just a skeleton of a practice on what will be Wednesday for the team. So if you can get healthy, if you can overcome the physical hardship of playing 3 days later, I think emotionally and sort of mentally, it's not the worst thing in the world. You go out there and you kind of like just line it up again, almost like the game has continued. It can really feel like you're just right back out there, and you're playing a team that you've had some success against. So it may end up being a good thing for the Tiger Cats.
Yeah, I agree with Luke there. It's a good thing after a loss to just be able to sort of forget about it and move forward. Another downside with such a short week is you can't make a lot of changes in both your scheme or in your personnel. You can't really make any changes to your personnel unless you're forced to with injury. And not that the Ticats have done a lot of that this year at all. You've had games where there's been struggles at different levels in different position groups, I should say, and still not a lot of changes. So they're not really, that's not their makeup, is to make some changes. But maybe it's time to start thinking about that and switch some things up or light some fires, because you need a more consistent play out of all the position groups.
Sure. RJ, you're going into the nation's capital, and they're coming off a bye week.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say. That just adds to it. It's a short week for the Tiger Cats, and Ottawa is sitting back, and they're seeing a real opportunity here. So the Tiger Cats will have to be ready. This is just another example of there's work to do. Tiger Cats know it. They know they have to. That's the top team. That's who they have to beat. And there's one game against the Argos that will matter this year, and that's in the playoffs. So they can do all their celebrations, all their, Thor hammer and the hammer and their misconduct penalties and do whatever they want, but this doesn't mean anything. Tiger Cats have to get themselves in the playoffs. Safe to assume Argos will be in. I think there was some statistic that if they won today, they can't be defeated by a crossover from the West, so you're already talking playoffs for the Argos, but one way to break their hearts. It's tough for the Tiger Cats to take now. Get into the playoffs and beat them in the game that it matters. That's the revenge.
So we've touched on a lot of things that were positive from today, but of course you got a long list of things that you're still working on. The thing that stands out to me, what you saw in BC offensively was James Butler mixing into the offense on the same drive that you would see Duke Williams get a first down, Terry Godwin. Tim White in the second half had 4 receptions in BC, and it was entirely different when the offense had both their run game and their pass game at the same time. It's been very one or the other, and today was certainly that. You saw, RJ, you and I were talking about James Butler repeatedly, and then all of a sudden you would go a full quarter where we wouldn't sit, where his name wouldn't come up. Didn't play a part in that. And during those times is where you saw Tim White kind of come alive there. If they can get that a healthy balance where it's not mutually exclusive between those things, you could almost say the same offensive and defensively, right? You have that first half where the defense was unbelievable. I mean, Toronto was almost given points because of their field position early on, and the defense came up with some really big stops against one of the best offenses in the league. As the offense heated up, the defense wasn't able to stop Toronto the same way. So it's sort of a balance, a balance that you saw in BC that they've got to be able to recreate.
Well, they got a lot of work to do and not a lot of time to do it, and hopefully they get their rest in there. RJ, Luke, Andy, again, thank you again so much for what you do. And, of course, you know what, folks, 25,318 record attendance at Tim Hortons Field. The many of you that joined us here, I heard June Jones was on the line here, listening on Ticats.ca. We certainly appreciate you. And, hey, 41-28, the Toronto Argonauts move on, and they defeat the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And, again, on a tough day. A lot of heat here at Tim Hortons Field. Folks, we will be back Friday night for Tiger Cats pregame presented by Greenworks, as those Ticats are in Ottawa to play the Red Blacks. Our broadcast starts at 6:30. We are streaming live at listen.ca, ticats.ca, and across the Ticats audio network. For the many people that put this broadcast together, we appreciate you, and we'll be listening and hoping that you join us on Friday night. Have a great night, evening.